We'll call tonight's meeting to order. Mrs. Ford, please go ahead and take roll.
Chairwoman Robinson.
Here.
Mrs. Black.
Here.
Mr. Connor.
Here.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mrs. Jones.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Perez.
Here.
Mrs. Faye Robinson.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Thurman.
Here.
Dr. Wingate.
Here.
Superintendent Dr. Robertson.
Here.
All right, great. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
As amended.
As amended.
So moved.
All right, great. I have a motion from Mr. Perez, and I have a second from Mr. Groen. Please call for the vote.
Mrs. Black.
Yes.
Mr. Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Mrs. Faye Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman.
Yes.
Dr. Wingate.
Yes.
Chairwoman Robinson.
Yes. Tonight's pledge and meditation is by Dr. Sarah Lane, the principal of Best T. Shepherd Elementary. Welcome, Dr. Lane.
I'm standing in for Dr. Lane tonight. My name is Ashley Ariel. I'm our assistant principal.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. No
I could
worries.
not understand what
She
you're
didn't
saying.
hear me. I was saying that's us.
I apologize. I'm sorry. Tell me your name again.
Yeah, Ashley Ariel.
Welcome, Mrs. Ariel.
Yes, so tonight we have Orlando Rush. He is one of our fifth graders, so he's actually going to lead us in the pledge and the moment of silence in our meditation.
Hi, I am Orlando Rush, a fifth grade student at Best T. Shepherd Elementary School. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. As you reflect, please think of me, my fellow classmates, my teachers, and our leaders. Remember to think of us in every discussion and every decision that you make on our behalf. We are embarking on a new school year, and we want to be the best that we can be, but we need you. We ask you to remember to promise to keep us safe, to support us, and to celebrate our differences. Let us take a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Okay, we'll move into
Orlando? Orlando. Is that you? Oh, okay. And I'll just have to add this, though. I was the only adult that followed Orlando's instructions because y'all stood up before he told y'all to stand.
No, I didn't stand.
Oh, well, see, me and Ron.
All right, we'll move into our exemplars of excellence. First, we have, is Dr. Donan here? Yes? Hey, Dr. Donan. Recognition of the Tennessee Skills USC Competition State Gold Medal recipients.
All right, well, Dr. Robertson, Chairwoman Robinson, board members, thank you for hearing us tonight and making sure this is, normally, I'd never have to move something up. This is really weird for me. We'd like to recognize some folks tonight, some students that have been participating in the Tennessee Skills USA. They participate in the state competition and were gold medal winners, which same thing as state champions. They're from Harrison Bay Future Ready Center. I know their principal is with us tonight, so Mr. James, you want to come on up here real quick? And I think Mr. Bright, you're here as well. Come on up here, Mr. Bright. And then we've got some of his students with him. Most of the students are not here because they were seniors and graduated. But that's right, that's right. But we do have one with us tonight. Two. Okay. So I know we got Zach Gilbert right here. He won in the Quiz Bowl, gold medalist in Quiz Bowl, and he has an interest in both the engineering and architecture fields. His dad's also an engineer, I learned, so probably a pretty good chance he's going to be one as well. And then Amy Mercer. All right, Amy Mercer, you were also on the Quiz Bowl team, so this is the dynamic duo right here. Amy, can you tell us what do you want to pursue after high school? Architecture. So yes, we got some smart ones with us tonight, absolutely. We have some other folks as well that couldn't be with us. Like I said, they're graduates, but they won in employment application process, commercial drones, Quiz Bowl, state officer, and courtesy corps. So we're really proud of them and the work they did. I just want to recognize them. If you give them a round of applause.
Amy, I have to ask, why is Andrew not here?
He has a lot of homework.
So, brother-sister combination.
So, come on up.
Amy, congratulations.
I'm going to take a picture right over here.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Mr. James.
I'm going to turn these over to you guys. I'll let you pass them.
Yeah, y'all get in the picture.
Congratulations. Next, we'll have the recognition of the 2023 state champions. Mr. James, our district athletic director, will make that presentation.
Greetings, Madam Chair and distinguished board members. Today is a great day for Hamilton County Schools. This had been kind of delayed because the state championships actually took place in May, but we had several kids on vacation, several kids at cross-country camp during the summer. So this has been the first opportunity that we have to recognize many of the student athletes and their coaches out of Hamilton County Schools for their performance in this past May's state championships. We also got a couple of other accolades that I'll discuss as we go through it. It's a great list. The list is growing annually, and that really excites me from a district athletic director standpoint that we are putting more kids on the podium at the state level, and hopefully we continue that growth. It's a great experience, athletics for these kids beyond the classroom. We're going to start off state champions, are actually state runner-up this year from the Rock Point Learning Community in District 5, Signal Mountain High. They had 5 individual state champions, and their team placed second as the state runner-up in track and field this year. I'd like to bring up their coaches and their student athletes who are state champions. Josh Pote, which was a 3-time state champion. He was the 1,600 meter run champion. That's the 1 mile in our, my speak. It was 3,200 meter, which is the 2 mile. And also he was a member of the 4x8 relay team that were all crowned state champions in Murfreesboro this past May. So Josh, if you will just step up right here, we're gonna turn you around and we'll add your teammates to you, and then we'll get a picture opportunity once all of our student athletes and coaches are recognized. All right. So the second young man is a gentleman by the name of Aiden Hahn. He is a young man with a bright future. I just talked to him outside. He's just a freshman, or he's a sophomore this year. So he is a official freshman state champion on the 4x8 relay team. Sam Larimore, another young man, 4x8 relay team member, as is Mr. Caden Napier. Yes, 4x8 relay champion. The two coaches, this guy's probably racked up more state championships
You've earned it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
You'll be first.
Thank you. Thank you.
You'll be first.
Thank you.
Got those runners' legs. Long strides.
Long stride, that's what it's all about.
Congratulations.
All right, I'm gonna talk about this one right here a little bit. This young lady, come on up here, Fiona. I'm gonna introduce you to Miss Fiona Eastman. Miss Fiona Eastman is gonna be a junior this year she's actually a student at STEM, but she competes through CSAS as a member of their track and field team. Not only is she our state champion pole vaulter from CSAS, she is also the national pole vault champion. She's number one in her age group in the nation. She has been named as a New Balance All-American and an Adidas All-American. So I would like to introduce Miss Fiona Eastman. All right. I would also like to introduce her coach, which I'm sure she couldn't have done it without, Miss Jennifer Mitchell. So, come on up. We'll get a picture of you. I talked to Fiona a little bit earlier. Her ultimate goal is to beat the state record, which is 13 foot 3 inches outdoor and 13 1/4 inch indoors. So we wish you the best of luck in that endeavor, and go get them. Thank you.
That's fabulous.
Coach Donnie. All right. Let them finish up. Get about to get in a hurry here.
Congratulations.
So representing the Midtown Learning Community in District 5, Brainerd High School has one state champion who she won 2 medals. She won the 100-meter dash and the 200-meter dash, and her 4x1 meter relay team came this close. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for them this year, but this young lady we've had before. She is a heck of an athlete. She is also gained All-American honors in the off-season. I believe, Coach, it was Adidas All-American and Nike. Was that correct? Okay. Her name is Miss Danielle Dunning, and what's kind of unique about Miss Danielle Dunning is that she is coached by her father, also a legend in the Chattanooga area, as a track and star athlete at the University of Tennessee, Mr. Donnell Dunning. So, guys, congratulations. We appreciate you and wish you the best of luck. You are a junior this year. So we've got 2 more years of watching her really well. So, all right, guys. All right. All right. These guys are no,
Another year.
last group we've got coming up. Oh, I'm sorry. Could they not get a bigger trophy? All right. Last group of the night for athletics is representing Missionary Ridge Learning Community once again, and representing District 5 Tyner Academy. They brought home 6 medals and 3 individual wins. Unfortunately, they fell a little short. They were state runner-up this year, but we are still, nonetheless, the Ram train keeps getting stronger. State championship in football this year. Now we've got a state runner-up in track and field. So I want to recognize these guys for their extraordinary efforts. We had Mr. Dmitry Lovick. He was a 100-meter dash and the 200-meter dash champion. So Dmitry graduated, is that correct? And so he's already off at college. He won't be able to attend tonight, but we wanted to recognize him just the same. Now, we have the gentlemen here gathered with us are the 4x200 meter relay team. Looky here, 4x400. So these guys are crazy. That means they have to sprint full speed around a track one time and hand it off to the next guy. So we're gonna. That's one of the worst. 400 meter for anybody that ran track knows probably the toughest race. That or the 300 meter hurdles, one or the other. But these guys right here, Dmitry Lovick, Zayshawn Hubbard, Adrian McKinley, and Jamari Jenkins with their coach, Mr. Kelvin Watkins. So, guys, congratulations to you. You're proud of us. All of you are coming back next year, and we expect big. You did graduate. Okay. All right. All right. Well, congratulations and best of luck to you as well. So, guys, you want to go up and get your picture made and meet your board members?
You guys are too fast. You're in the picture.
Proud of you.
First place. Good job.
Good job, Coach.
Congratulations. Yes, sir.
Congratulations. Yes, good job.
Yes, sir. So, board members, hopefully we'll be back here in October, maybe November, to present some more state champions from our fall sports. Could be as late as December, depending on the sport. I'd like to encourage everybody to go out and support your local high schools and middle schools. They're in full swing. Volleyball's going on, cross country, football. Pick a sport, support a sport, love a kid, man. So thank you guys so much for your attention, and we're really proud of all the state champions in the room right now. You guys are not just state champions, but champions in life. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mr. James, and congratulations to all of our students. We'll move on to the board member disclaimer statement, and we'll start at the end with Mr. Groen.
Does not apply.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on, I have to get up here where I can read it. What I did was not, here it is. Okay. I declare that I have a relative who works for the school system, and the board's vote on the budget and policies may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
I declare that I have a relative who works for the school system, and the board's vote on budget, policies, etc. may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
I declare that I have a relative who works for the school system and that the board's vote on budget policies, etc., may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
I declare that I have relatives who work for the school system and that the board's vote on all matters may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
I declare that I have a relative who works for the school system and that the board's vote on budget policies, etc., may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
I declare that I have a family member who works for the school system and that the board's vote on all matters may affect my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
I declare that I have a relative who works for the school system and that the board's vote may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
Thank you. Move to the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
I need to call the amended items. We have the following amended items: item E1A, E1B, E1F, E1G, and that is it. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Mr. Perez, a second from Mr. Connor. Is there any discussion or any items to be pulled?
Yes, I'd like to pull on the field trips. I'd like to, or at least I'd like to put into the field trip CSLA to Paris, France, or CSAS, I'm sorry, that we move to approve with the understanding that graduates, which are now no longer students, would not be a part of this field trip.
Okay. Is that C1A, Mr. Keene?
C1B.
C1B.
Thank you.
Rock Point.
Thank you. Okay, do we have other items to pull? Mrs. Thurman?
Yes, the 7E1D Policy 4.43, reconsideration of instructional materials.
Thank you. Do we have any other items to pull? Okay, great. Mr. Keene, please address 7C1B.
We vote for
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, go ahead and call for the vote. Thank you.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Faye Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Dr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairwoman Robinson?
Yes. Okay, now Mr. Keene.
Well, I know it's been many years since we've taken trips out of the country, but the last time we had a situation like this, it ended up in a bad way. So if we can approve this field trip, again, with the understanding by Dr. Alford that those attending the field trip would still be a part of the school, not graduates, which would no longer then be under the same school rules and guidelines.
Okay, so is that a motion to amend the language in the
I think to add
to the
yes.
How would this work? Because this is a form that would need to be.
So the way I have written that is, it's a motion to approve the field trip subject to the understanding that anyone going must be a current student and not a graduate.
Okay.
We're gonna vote on the amendment and then vote on that, or is vote on it all at once? Do we have to vote on the amendment?
What I interpreted it as was a motion to approve, subject to the condition that.
Right.
So it's not really a motion to amend, because it's currently not on it didn't pass the consent agenda. So it's before the board on a fresh motion.
Okay.
So Mr. Keene's motion was a motion to approve, subject to the condition that it's open only to current students and not recent graduates, and not graduates.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Thank you. Discussion. Mrs. Thurman, you have your light on.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
The discussion I want to have is, the world is a very dangerous place. We've had Americans kidnapped, held for ransom in other countries around the world. I just don't like this. I just don't like anything about this. It's just too easy to pick people up, especially young people. And I just don't want us to ever get in that position, so I will be voting against it, not because of your amendment or your whatever. I'm just not voting for it, period. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Connor?
I just need a little bit of clarity because I was on the board apparently when we talked about this in excess 3 years ago or more. But are we, by making this motion, in previous years had seniors who had just graduated been able to go on this trip, and now we're by making this motion we're keeping them away from it?
I mean, I'd have to go back and look at it. I would not think that seniors that had graduated would be going on a trip in June simply because of what was mentioned earlier about we don't really have any control over that. And so my initial reaction would be that any of these field trips in the past would have included rising seniors or below.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that our vote there wasn't somebody sitting out there expecting to go on this trip and then we just voted that they can't.
Well, their parents can send them.
Mr. Perez?
Send them.
So, like, I'm trying to understand, it's a choir trip, right? So I'm thinking a lot of seniors, the reason it's probably being brought up now is because the planning to be able to raise the funding to be able to go on the trip, because we had something similar last year, the conversation about a trip to London for the band, because we were invited by the city of London, and in the end the funding didn't come around. Students weren't able to go, but they can't even start the conversation unless we let them know that we approve it. So here's kind of my dilemma on seniors, and I'm even wondering if waiting 1 month is too long, but my dilemma is I'm part of the choir, we've been invited, I'm a senior, and I graduated, but I'm not able to join that trip if the community goes. I'm wondering, Mr. Bennett, specifically, if a graduated senior, I'm going to put a hypothetical, like goes to Paris on their own and participates, like, are we responsible for their actions, which is a fair concern of liability, right? Like, are we responsible for the actions of a person who's no longer a student at our institution?
Well, and sorry, just to piggyback on that, I mean, for the sake of him asking the question, but also they're the ones signing over everything because they are now an official adult. So, like, it's not even like an adult.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm thinking that we're concerned about 18-year-olds because that was mentioned earlier.
But we're concerned about people who are no longer under the institutional guidelines.
They could be 17.
Okay. Okay.
So I may not understand your question, Mr. Perez.
I would not be surprised that I phrased it wrong.
Well, I will point out that the evaluation that's listed here on this form is students will give 3 concert performances and be graded on their participation.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be.
So to me, it seems like the intention from the school, and I haven't spoken to the school, the intention would be that this is for current students, but I think that Mr. Keene's motion is simply to clarify the intent, that these are for current students. So I wouldn't think, the way this is written, that the school would envision graduates to be able to come along. If I understood your question, you're asking hypothetically if a recent graduate decides to take a trip to Paris that hypothetically coincides
everybody, yeah.
with when their alma mater happens to be going to Paris, would we be responsible for the misbehavior of a recent graduate who is a legal adult? The answer is no, we wouldn't be responsible for that, and I don't even know how we would keep them from doing it. But if I were the teacher or someone chaperoning this, I would have some.
Well, and I want to be cautious. I'm not proposing that there's a way around it. So my concern, my question really is, if they've graduated in general, are we still responsible for them, on a school trip?
You're asking me a very open-ended question.
Yeah. that's
I
fine.
can imagine, I mean, hypothetically, if the teacher or the chaperone were to say, well, you're now an adult and I trust you, hey, would you stand in for me while I go over here? I would hope that no one would do that because that recent graduate is not a chaperone. It's not an approved chaperone.
Okay.
So,
I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to.
but I mean,
Yeah.
I think that at some level, the judgment of the people who are running this trip
Yeah.
needs to be taken into account, and I would hope that no one who has signed up to be a chaperone for something like this would dabble in what we're discussing here.
Well, and what the reason I'm asking is that to me, the nature of what like a choir has done all year and is taking this now to Paris because of an invitation or however it's working. They work with a group, including the seniors, but now the trip happens after they're no longer seniors and no longer members of the school. So it feels to me like somewhere there.
It feels like to your perspective, it feels like we're somehow disenfranchising people who quote unquote earned a trip.
In a sense.
But I would point out that if they've already graduated and if this is intended as a grading opportunity,
There's a
they've
liability
already,
there.
they've already gotten their grade, they've already graduated, they've moved on.
Yeah, I hear that.
It would require a certain amount of policing, and
We would have people out there that we don't have any control, any, so, yeah, all right, thank you.
To follow his line of question, is there an instance where an 18-year-old senior could sign up as a chaperone after, like, to chaperone this trip after they've graduated?
Well, why would we approve that?
I'm just saying, like, I mean, is that something, like, is there anything that,
I'm just gonna say I hope so.
huh?
I'm just gonna say that I can't imagine a school administrator approving that.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I can't.
Mr. Connor.
So, just because it seems like we're kind of setting precedents with this, I've got to ask, what about the person that graduates in December and there's some sort of thing involved in the school year, and maybe not for a grade, but potentially if we had somebody, I believe this is legal, that a student that graduates in December can still participate in the track meet in May. Is that not the same thing, or am I just not understanding? Again, it seems like we're setting
Let's
a
let
precedent.
Dr. Robertson jump
We're
in.
not setting a precedent.
Okay.
I think we're getting into like
A
so many
rabbit hole.
hypothetical situations. You know, chaperones, I mean, you're approving chaperones on this form. They've got to get background checks. You know, we can set, if the will of the board is say if graduate can't come, we'll confirm, make sure that happens. You know, my thing is, I don't know any graduate that wants to go on this trip or any teacher that wants to take a graduate on this trip. So, you know.
Well,
Sorry, it's Mrs. Jones' turn next. Let me let her go first, and then Mr. Keene, we can get you.
So I'm all about, you know, you earn a trip, whatever. But I know I'm 42 now, but when I was 18 and graduating from 865 East 3rd Street, I didn't really want to go on a trip with nobody else. I graduated. I'm moving on. And I really think we're probably we wouldn't be setting the precedence if all these hypotheticals are going to set the precedence. I think the issue is this. If you're a student in Hamilton County Schools at the time of the trip, then you attend the trip. If not, get to Paris however you're going to get to Paris. But it's not on us. And I don't think it's a matter of earning a right to a trip, y'all. I mean, some things you just know as a senior you're not going to be a part of because you're a senior. I mean, some things you just know. You just know that's going to be the case. You just know it. I mean, if we did this every time something came up, then we're always going to be doing this because, well, we didn't do it my junior year, but can I do it now even though it's the summer before my senior year, but I was a junior 3 months ago? No. Like, you don't participate. You just don't get to participate. And I don't think, So I think in fairness to let the other children who are still students get to go, I do think that you need to do that because no, we don't think that teachers would do that or parents would do that or administrators would do that. But we don't know if people are doing that, right? We don't know. So it's all in a good faith measure. But I just don't see why we keep going back and forth on, well, if they graduated 2 days before the trip, 3 days after the trip, like, they're a senior and they're out of there on May, and they ready to get out of there on May 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. They rolling up out of there.
Okay, Mrs. Thurman?
Yes, but it said something about they would be graded on their performance, but really, in reality, they're all already out of school. I mean, the grades have already been given. I mean, not whether they're a senior or junior or whatever they are. I mean, I'm just talking about the criteria, why the reasons why they're given to go. How can they be graded? Going to carry over to the next year? I'm not real sure, but whatever.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Let's go ahead and take the vote.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Cotter?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
No.
Mrs. Jones?
This is with the amendment, right?
Yes.
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 Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Faye Robinson?
No.
Mr. Smith?
No.
Mrs. Thurman?
No.
Dr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairwoman Robinson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, next pulled item, I believe Mrs. Thurman pulled this item, 7E1D.
Oh, this is the reconsideration, yes. I just wanted to strike the language in that first paragraph. Just strike the language, about the.
And expressed in the Library Bill of
Yeah,
Rights.
yeah,
and
the
the
Library Bill of
American
Rights,
Library
that,
Association.
yeah. Should be a period after the Constitution there.
Of the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, please call for the vote.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Faye Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Dr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairwoman Robinson?
Yes. Moving into administrative business matters, item A1, request for new and updated job class descriptions. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a-
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion for Mr. Perez, a second for Mr. Connor. Do I have any discussion? Mrs. Thurman, are you lit up for this item? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I just stay lit up over here. The request for new and updated job classifications, I said I was not going to vote for any more new administrative jobs, and that's because in that category, so I will not be voting for this.
Okay, I do not have any other requests. Please call for the vote.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Faye Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
No.
Dr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairwoman Robinson?
Yes. Next item, MOU between Hamilton County Schools and the Hamilton County Education Association. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Mr. Perez and a second from maybe Mr. Keen
Yes.
Well,
or Mr. Connor.
King both.
We'll give it to Mr. Keen because
Okay.
Mr. Connor's already had a couple seconds. Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Great, Mr. Perez.
No, I mean, just, again, one, maybe a public recognition again with teachers. I know you've started, but I hope that you understand we also have an obligation to review an MOU that's going to be a 3-year long MOU. So on reading it, again, I believe that our district, I hope that it is clear that our district wants to make sure that you love your jobs and want to go there every day. And so, so for the district, there were a lot of details that I know sometimes in the practice of school can be, looked over. So, so please, to the teachers, hold us accountable to that MOU as much. Let us know if somewhere there something's not being done accordingly. So.
Thank you. If there's no other comments, we'll call for the vote.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Fay Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Dr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairwoman Robinson?
Yes. Next item, charter agreement term amendments. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do
Second.
I have a second? I have a motion for Mr. Groan and I believe a second from Mrs. Thurman. Any discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Fay Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Dr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairwoman Robinson?
Yes. Next item, expansion of community forward schools in partnership with Northside Neighborhood House. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
All right, motion from Mr. Connor, second from Mrs. Black. Any discussion? Mrs. Thurman.
Yes, Shannon did come up and share with me the data that would be shared. Shannon, can you just kind of tell some of the people in the audience that may not understand what
Sure.
data is being shared, because this has been a concern for some people.
Sure,
that have
and
talked
do
to me.
you, I don't have it pulled up, I can pull it up really quickly
That's
though, if we
okay.
need to.
Well, no, it's just,
Well, and it's, inside of the MOU, there's a data sharing part, and that includes the data that's being shared. So some of it is demographic information, and so it's name, birth date, I think I'm gonna get these right, ethnicity, and I think grade level, something like that. And then it's information about enrollment, if there's any terms of enrollment at the school, like if it's a magnet school or something like that. And then grades and attendance, I believe it was, is what they wrote in the MOU. If there's anything outside of the data that's in the MOU, our process would be that a data sharing agreement is created. That's like an amendment to that MOU, essentially.
is this a 3-year agreement? Is it 3?
1 year.
What, just, it's
Yes.
every year?
I'm sorry, I looked at my
So it
team.
can- Oh, okay, so it can be brought back every year, okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll do a little bit more checking on it, but, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. No other discussion? All right, please call for the vote.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Fay Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Dr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairwoman Robinson?
Yes. Last item, the renaming of Sell Creek Football Field. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion made.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Thurman, second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion?
Just.
Mrs. Thurman.
I'm just very excited about this, and for people that don't know Ron Cox, he's been a wonderful, wonderful role model for these young men at Sell Creek High School. For 8 of they played without a field. We had to drive back and forth to Finley Stadium for 8 years. And he did that and suffered through that. And then I witnessed him personally putting in the sprinkler system and outworking himself to death out there with the football boys getting that field so they would have a field to play on in Sell Creek. So he is very deserving of this.
Thank you.
Great guy.
Great. If no more discussion, we'll call for the vote.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Fay Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Dr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairwoman Robinson?
Yes. Great. Moves us on your agenda, there's information, under information's legal services report, and then lastly, events and announcements. Monday, September 4th is Labor Day, no school. Wednesday, September 20th will be our next half day. It'll be a half day for teacher planning as well. And then next is Thursday, September 21st is our next school board meeting. I do want to let the board know that Sherry will be sending out the superintendent evaluation instrument tomorrow. You'll have 2 weeks to turn that back around and send that back to Sherry. And then also in return, Dr. Robertson will be doing his self-evaluation. And so at the next board meeting, we'll have that on our agenda as information only, and we'll be able to review that as needed. So, and lastly, Mr. Connor asked to make an announcement.
I did. So we are about to break into the kids' first coupon book season, and Miss Sherry Ford sits on the board for that. And I wanted to let her the floor to announce an important change to it as we get ready for that.
Right, so we haven't had a price increase in over 25 years, right at 30 years. So with everything increasing in price, unfortunately, it is going up this year to $15. But any of the coupons, if you use more than one, you will more than make your money back on just one or two purchases.
That's true.
So,
Well, as the coach for multiple year coupon selling champions from the Robinson household. I am aggressive, but I'm getting less aggressive with each kid. So I mean, it's kind of wearing out.
I think you refer to that term more as agent.
I am an agent. Yeah, I make commission. We're gonna have to come up with a new sales pitch. Just to really justify the price. But I feel confident that we can do it, and I feel confident that we'll bring in more money for our schools.
Is the oil change thing still in there?
I think it is still in there.
Oh, that's the seller right there.
There we go. There we go.
And just to ask the one last question, so before $7 of every book went back to the schools, do you know what the dollar amount is this time? I'm sure that it's more,
I
but
think it's 10 and 5.
Okay.
I think that's the breakdown.
Still
but
$3 more
I'll
a book.
find out for sure, but I think that's what we discussed, 10 and 5. So schools will make more money and obviously Fund for Excellence, but that's operating expense for us.
thank you for serving the kids on that board. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much for bringing that up. I appreciate
Tiffany and Caritza are going to give a class on the coupons because I'm in the middle of a discussion of every one of them.
it. The
goodwill to
the seniors on
There will be a public announcement about the coupon class.
I'm not gonna say that I write a script every year for my kids to make their video commercial with, but I might write a script. Mr. Keene has an.
That's okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm trying to raise money for our schools. Okay. Well, if there are no other announcements from anyone, then we'll adjourn. Thank you.
Your competitive.
She is competitive.
You're welcome.
Are we gonna have a story?